see. So how about... Just as Lukako was about to say something. Footsteps. I heard sharp footsteps coming up from the stairs. And then a knock. Come in. Sorry, Lukako. She's here. I'll talk to you later. Then I stopped. Ah! The person who opened the door. It was... her? Again? It was Moika Kiryu. I hadn't seen her since the ATF seminar. Okabe? What's wrong? Okabe? Something to drink? Tension. Moika was silent, with her head tilted slightly forward. Seeing her caused a dull ache within me, like my heart was being squeezed dry. Why was she here with Daru? I had any number of doubts in my mind. What's wrong, Okarin? Nothing. Yeah. Moika tilted her head a bit to the side, and I quickly averted my eyes. There was no connection between CERN and us anymore. She wasn't going to kill Mayuri. Wasn't going to kill Mayuri. Wasn't going to kill Mayuri. Wasn't going to kill her. I said it to myself over and over again, and finally started to relax. Uncle, you look pale. You doing okay? Don't worry about me. Anyway, Daru, can you explain what's going on? Oh, this is Kiryushi. She's an edit pro writer. Moika, Kiryu. She silently handed me her business card, which had the name of a company called Arc Rewrite on it. Daru gave a brief explanation to me in Suzuha. Hey Daru, how did you meet her? The magazine once did a special on Akihabara Urban Legends. So I got a request to talk about my part-time job. Not something I can really talk about, you know, so I politely refused, but I normally try to make myself hard to track down, but Kiryushi, she was able to find me. That got my attention. Once I met her, as you can see, I found out she was really hot. A hot writer who tracks down urban legends? Isn't that the most anime thing ever? That's how they'd met. Suzuha was frowning as she saw how Daru acted around Moika. Didn't say anything, but I could tell she was thinking that he'd be better off directing his attentions towards her mom. Moika, for her part, seemed completely uninterested in Daru. She was wearing her usual poker face and fiddling with her phone. Still using a Japanese feature phone instead of a smartphone? Huh? Well, it's not exactly your specialty, but she knows a lot about Akihabara, especially about some of the underground stuff, I guess. So I thought it might be worth asking her. You're looking for someone? That's what I heard. Yep, actually, I want you to find a girl who went missing 12 years ago in Akihabara. Daru told Moika Kiryu the basic story. She was dead silent the whole time, but she typed his words into her phone with incredible speed. Said nothing and just watched. Was once around her. She probably still was. Was it okay to trust her? It's just a coincidence that I'd run into her here. I knew that in my head, but my heart just refused to accept it. Here in the Beta World Line, we'd never encountered Moika Kiryu before. Of course we hadn't. I'd chosen the Beta World Line so that we wouldn't. Even though the cost was Kurisu Makuse's life. In other words, you want me to find this Kagari Shina person? That's right. Can you help? I can try. Seriously? I don't know if I'll find her. Of course, if you can't, you can't. Normally, Moika and I would never run into each other like this. Of course, we might have crossed paths in Akihabara. We almost ran into each other when she'd come to interview Dr. Leskinen and Maho at the ATF seminar. I convinced myself that they were never going to meet each other directly. Was this fate? She and I fated to cross paths at some point. If that was the case, maybe it was better not to try to avoid her, to watch her to see what she did. As I listened to Daru talk to her, that was what I started to think. So we'll pay you if you succeed, and then any other necessary expenses, okay? No problem. Okarin, Susaha, you two okay with that? If you can help, I'm not gonna complain. Don't mind either. It's a deal then. Moika nodded slightly, and then asked us for information about Kaguri that might be a clue. Stuff like the clothes she was wearing when she disappeared, and what she looked like after that. She left. Phew. All the tension suddenly drained my body as I sank into the sofa. Uncle, are you sure you're okay? I'm fine. I was just a little nervous. It was a little late, but I took some anxiety meds out of my pocket and swallowed them. Uncle, you knew that Moika Kiryu girl, didn't you? Huh? Could tell. Seriously, when did that happen, Okarin? Why do you think so? I could tell by looking at you. I guess you have to be pretty sharp to survive on the battlefield. No, I don't know her. You know her in the Alpha World line? Okay, I won't ask anymore, but I'll do my best to keep an eye on her. That's enough for now. What are you guys talking about? I got nervous is all. I understand that. She's hot, has giant boobs, great proportions, and she even wears glasses. You can't help it. That's right. She was a part of my life now. I would have to just use her as best I could. Maybe it was because she was gone now, or maybe it was because of the anxiety meds, but I'd calmed down enough to start thinking that way. Of course, who knew if I'd feel the same way the next time I saw her, face to face. The plot thickens. The Japanese office of the Global Brain Science Comprehensive Research Organization at Wako City, Saitama. Maho had tried her best to hold back a yawn, but in the end, she'd given up and opened her mouth so wide it covered well over half her face. Phew. One reason was that she'd gotten caught up in talking to Kiryu last night, and only ended the conversation after it was late into the night. At first, they'd been discussing the research and experiments she'd been doing, but at some point she'd gotten sidetracked into talking about Okabe Rentaro. Evidently, as a drink, he'd been ignoring calls from Kurisu for the last few days. Kurisu was much madder at him than she was when he'd ignored her the first 8 times. It was the first sign of femininity that she'd ever seen from Kurisu Makase. It was cute enough that Maho couldn't help but take the chance to get back at her for all the teasing she always did. She ended up staying up a lot later than she intended. And since she was too energized to sleep at that point, she'd gotten out Kurisu's old laptop. She started to fiddle with it to see if there was some way to crack the password. And the next thing she knew, it was morning. A password, huh? Maybe it'd be better to ask a professional. What's up now? Yeah! She suddenly heard a voice behind her and almost jumped out of her chair. Is it really that surprising? Professor, you're back? Just now. Raised up his hand and showered her some plastic bags from a nearby convenience store. He'd left to go get lunch just 10 minutes ago. She'd been sure he wouldn't be back for a while. You know, Japanese convenience stores have so many foods to choose from. It's truly wonderful. You can eat a different boxed lunch every day, and a week later you'll have new ones to choose from. And each store's got its own flavor, so you can get your food from them every day if you want. If you keep eating boxed lunches from convenience stores, you're gonna get fat. It's still healthy compared to American food. Also, I don't think you have the right to lecture anyone about their eating habits. He was right. Nutrition was an important consideration for Maho. In fact, she ate mostly cereal and meal replacement shakes, which made her diet very unhealthy. By the way, what do you want to ask a professional for help with? Oh, it's nothing. Wouldn't bother her if Liskin found out. For some reason, she suddenly decided not to tell him. Yeah, if there's anything I can do to help, I will. Thank you. I may take you up on that. He stood up and headed for the door. Maho, where are you going? Going to Akihabara to get some fresh air. That's a long way to go just for some fresh air. If you just admit that you're going to see Lintalho, I'll permit it. It's not like that. It's not? But I might go see him while I'm there. Okubi had a laboratory in Akihabara. Kurisu had told her that last night. She said something about how he'd been avoiding it for a long time, and only recently started going there again. Maho was a little interested in it too. Just so we're clear, it's not like that. It really isn't. I haven't said a word. Anyway, I'm taking the day off. Tell Lintalho I said hi. First Kurisu, now the professor. Why did they keep trying to make everything about romance? And anyway, isn't that called sexual harassment these days? For one thing, she wasn't going to Okubi's lab just to visit him. She wanted to see him again and see if he could get any hints about the password. He had said he didn't know, but he'd probably be able to come up with more than she could on her own. That's what she thought after seeing how he interacted with Amadeus. You could call it a woman's intuition. She was thinking about that when she changed trains and got off at Akihabara Station. She felt like someone was watching her and spun around. It was a weekday, but the station was crowded. She looked around at all the people. None of them seemed to be paying her much attention. Must have imagined that, right? Whispered to no one in particular as she started to walk again. Kurisu had told her the location of the future gadget lab. She wasn't that familiar with the layout of Akihabara, but if she needed to, she could ask for her directions. What if she came in unannounced, and Okubi wasn't there? That bothered her a little. She decided she could just leave it at that happened. Her eyes lingered on the junk parts lined up in the bins at the shops as she walked when... felt someone looking at her again. She turned around, she still didn't see anyone. She started walking again, then went around a corner into an alley. And then she was sure of it. Footsteps. She could hear them behind her. Of course, there was nothing special. She would often be out walking at night and hear footsteps behind her. She'd speed up her pace, only to see an irritated man walk past a moment later. But this time, for some reason, she was sure it wasn't that. She decided to try walking faster. Found the footsteps went faster too. When she went slower, so did they. Saw a scene like this in a movie. She imagined that she'd just kick the guy in the face. Not that it was actually happening. She was too scared to turn around. She She fumbled for the phone in her pocket. The idea of calling the police never occurred to her. The only thing she thought of was the name of the man she was trying to meet. She picked it out of her call history, pressed the button with trembling fingers. Please. Footsteps overlapped with the sound of the ringing. Oh, could we help me? Footsteps were almost on top of her. Just when she couldn't take it anymore and was about to start running. Hello? You heard a voice coming from the other side of the phone. Hello? Okabe, it's me. Maho. I'm right next to your lab. But she didn't get to say another word. By the time she realized that someone had grabbed her from behind, the phone had already slipped from her hands. Kidnapped. That ain't good. What's this? I asked Moika Kiryu as I took the paper she offered me silently. She contacted Daru just 10 minutes ago, told she was on her way to the lab. She'd arrived right at the time she said she would. She must have been very close when she contacted him. What was she going to do if no one was here? Report? Evidently it was a report about her investigation thus far. The stack of papers was shaking a little in my hands. I still felt some unease when Moika was in my presence. Maybe it was just because of the anxiety meds I'm taking right after she said she was coming. I was still doing a lot better than yesterday. Well, Uncle? Guess it really isn't going to be that easy to find her. Let's see. Must have been expecting something at least a little. There was an obvious tone of disappointment in her voice. Kankari, where are you? What are you doing? No way to answer her. I just silently flipped through the pages of the report. What's up, Okarin? Find something useful? No, not really, but... Let's see. Handed the report over to Suzuha without complaint. I pointed to the part that interested me with my finger. My investigation has revealed one interesting fact. Over the past 1 to 2 months, it seems another party besides ourselves have been searching for Kagari Shina. What does that mean? Just what you read. Which meant... My phone started ringing before I could finish the thought. Normally, I'd just ignore her and call back later, but... Sorry, can I take this? For some reason, I had to answer. That's what it felt like. Hello? Hello? Okabe, it's me. Maho. She sounded on the verge of panic, and my voice naturally rose to match hers. What's wrong? Maho. I'm right next to your lab. Immediately afterward, I heard what sounded like a struggle, and then something hitting something else. Maho. Maho, what's wrong? And there was only silence. Okarin, what's wrong? The tone of her voice, it was obvious something bad had happened. Someone's attacking this girl I know. Wait, seriously? Which girl? I didn't stay to answer his question. I grabbed the nearest thing that could serve as a weapon and ran out of the lab. She said she was close to the lab. She was coming from the station and had chosen a route that not many people would go down. She was probably... the alley directly in front of the lab. I saw someone there. They were tall and slender. I could see a tiny silhouette struggling behind them. That was... I knew it. The only girl I knew that size was Maho. Stop it! Let me go! Someone had grabbed her and she was trying desperately to escape. Maho! Huh? The person who was holding her turned in surprise at my voice. A woman? It was only then that I realized it was a woman, and that she wasn't Japanese. Okabe? Hey, Let go of Maho! Did she not understand me? No, but she should have been able to guess what I was getting at. Let her go. I tried to strike a threatening pose with my weapon in my hand. I finally realized that what I brought was a Silum saber. Still, it would serve as a bluff. I'll say it again. Let her... Not like that, Okabe. Huh? It wasn't? It wasn't like what? Oh! The woman let go of Maho and smiled. She walked towards me with her arms wide open. Are you Maho's boyfriend? What? Wait! Before I could ask what was going on, she wrapped her hands around my back and gave me a firm hug. I told you, he is not. I had no idea what the hell was going on, but the two soft objects pressed into my chest kept me from moving. Then you know her, Maho? I'm sorry, it was my mistake. I'm Judy Reyes. Pleasure meeting you, Mr. Okabe. The woman named Judy Reyes offered me her hand, a broad smile like the sun itself. Nice to meet you. Japanese will do just fine. What? You speak Japanese, Professor? Yes, actually. I had no idea, but why? When a girl gets to be my age, a lot happens. Her mischievous wink looked pretty good on her. Anyway, I'll introduce myself properly. Judy Reyes. Nice to meet you. I returned her handshake. Okabe Rintaro. Professor Reyes says she came to Japan for an AI conference. She's a professor at Victor Chondria? I research physiology. Psycho. It's the intersection of psychology and biology. In other words, she researches how the activities of the brain affect the inner workings and diseases of the mind. In that sense, her research is a lot more useful to humanity than ours. That's not true. Depending on how it turns out, your Amadeus could turn into an incredible useful piece of technology. It makes me happy to hear you say that. In short, Dr. Reyes had happened to see Maho on the streets of Akihabara and decided to surprise her by grabbing her from behind. Still, that's pretty mean of you. Following me all the way from the station? I followed you from the station? That's right, you followed me the whole time, didn't you? No, I didn't. I happened to see you from the shop over there and decided to surprise you. Huh. Maho had only just relaxed when Dr. Reyes' answer drained her face of its color. Maho, someone followed you? Yes, that's what it felt like. Did you see anyone suspicious? Dr. Reyes denied it with that unique shrug that foreigners always do. I looked back over the alley, but of course, I didn't see anyone. I must have been mistaken then. I'm sure you were. Japan's the safest country in the world, right? Was it? What are you gonna do now, Maho? Reyes seemed to sense something in Maho's silence. I see. Alright, I'll be on my way then. We should talk sometime, Rintaro. Bye! She gave me a meaningful wink as she left. The station was in the opposite direction. Should I have said something? I had a strange sense that she was feeling me out, but it seemed like a waste of time to resist. So this is Maho. You remember me telling about how I met her at the seminar, right? Sorry for all the fuss. I ended up taking Maho back to the lab where everyone was waiting for my return. Suzu had actually gone out once to look for me, but evidently by the time I was already gone. Well, I'm glad it was nothing. After I gave an introduction and an explanation, everyone let out a sigh of relief. Maho seemed to want to ask a lot of questions about the lab, but I had something I had to finish first. Sorry, where were we? We were talking about another group looking for Kaguritan. Yeah, that's right. Is that true, Kiryu? It's true. I look back down at Moika's report, where she'd written all the details. She'd even hired a private investigator to check it out, which meant that it was probably true. There's no chance it was Suzuha. I thought of that, but some of the people looking for her were men. Some were even foreigners. Foreigners? Why would they be looking for Kaguri? I'm the only one with any connection to Kaguri in this time, so why would anyone? Would it be CERN? Maybe CERN realized that she was from the future and had gone looking for her. But if that was the case, then Moika would have known about it. No, the Rounders were all given their orders individually. It would make sense if she didn't know what the others were up to. Kaguri Shina has been here for 12 years. She has to have met some people during that time. More like she couldn't survive that long without somebody's help. That's true. In other words, what this report tells us is someone who knows Kaguri Shina, someone who knows who Kaguri Shina is has started looking for her recently, for some unknown reason. That means that at least until recently, she was alive. Oh, that's right. Unless they could travel through time like Suzuha. If they were looking for her, they meant they'd know where she was until she disappeared. People had started looking for her in the last few months. That meant she'd be alive until then. There was nothing else to be learned from Moika's report. What will you do? Will I continue the investigation? People were looking for Kaguri in Akihabara. That meant she might still be there. Alright. Moika took her payment for the work she'd done so far and left the lab. Daro had paid the bill. It seemed that when his future daughter was at stake, he was willing to spend money. You're looking for someone. Maho had been looking around the lab with interest. Yeah, just a girl I know. It worried me that some of the people looking for Kaguri Shina weren't Japanese. Even outside of CERN, there were people all over the world who would jump at the chance to learn more about the time machine. If they somehow learned that Kaguri was from the future, that could mean she was caught up in some kind of trouble. Alright, Okarin. Give me the quiz gun Hiyahoshi. I've already told you everything there is to know, though. He was Dr. Leskinen's assistant. Both she and the professor had been very good to me. I was helping with their work a little. I told them all this before. For example, is there going to be a super development where she suddenly becomes a lab member? Probably not. And can I at least call her Mahotan? Actually, I'm just gonna. Mahotan? Huh? Did I get your name wrong? That's not it. It's just a weird thing to say. But you're Mahotan, right? Mahotan! Don't you agree, Okarin? Don't ask me. Just stop calling me that. But I refuse. He never changes, does he? But anyway, Maho, what brings you to the lab today? Did I tell you about this place? Amadeus told me. There was something I wanted to talk to you about, but forget it. I got to see this mysterious laboratory. It looks like you're all busy. Was she mad? Yeah, she was really ticked off. She says you're not picking up her calls. Exactly what I expected, yeah. What? What are we talking about? Nothing involving romance. Cool it, man. Is this really bothering you after all? Okabe, if you want to stop being a tester, you can. No, that's not it. It's just... I hated how I was starting to feel dependent on her. Talk to her sometime, if you ever feel like it. She's lonely. Okay. The word lonely made my heart ache a little. But even so, I still didn't talk to Kurisu that day. Several days had passed since Moika had given her reports. I checked last night, and evidently there was nothing new to say. She had her deadlines for a magazine, she said, and couldn't spend a lot of time on it. The other group of people who were searching for Kagari Shina concerned me, but I couldn't ask her to prioritize it over her own work. Phew, Mayushi's very disappointed. Is this about the Christmas party? Yep. Kaede and Fubuki are both busy. And Ferris is at work, and Nei's going to spend it with her dad. And Daru says he's going to go have fun with Yuki. That's a good thing, isn't it? I heard that Suzuha had gone through a lot of work to set that up. He was always complaining that Daru wasn't making his intentions clear with Yuki. From Suzuha's perspective, her own existence was at stake. Even if it was already fated to happen, something still might interrupt it. More than anything, she probably wanted to see her mom and dad getting alone in this peaceful world. If something came out of this, it would probably make her feel better. You sure you don't want to spend Christmas with your family? Your dad was reserving a cake. Met my dad? I ran into him near my house. He was all excited because he was reserving a big cake to surprise you. See, so maybe I should do that. Oh, but don't let him know I told you. It's supposed to be a surprise. Yeah, okay. What are you going to do for Christmas? I guess I don't have any plans. My family never did stuff like that. Guys at school were having a men-only drinking party, but I hadn't been invited. I kept telling them she wasn't, but they insisted on thinking that Mayuri was my girlfriend. Some of them had it out for me because of that. Didn't you say that one year you asked Santa for a present, and the next day you found vegetables under your pillow? Yeah, it was obviously stuff left over from the day before. When I went to complain, my dad yelled at me and told me we weren't Christians anyway. Honestly, I'm amazed I actually grew up all right. Well, if you could call how I ended up all right. Once Christmas is done, there's Kamima, and then New Year. The year just flies by. You're right. It hadn't flown by for me at all. I'd gone through the same span of days again and again. Me, the year had been unimaginably long. Oh, I know. Hey, okay, since we can't have a Christmas party, how about we have a New Year's party? We could all go visit the shrine and eat osechi, and say Happy New Year's. Yeah, sounds like a good idea. Right? Okay, I'll ask everybody later. Mayuri stood up to go. Okay, Mayushi's about to go shopping. Shopping? Yep, I need some props for Fubuki's cosplay. I see. Take care. Okay. Alright, Okurin. Lukako wanted you to talk to you about something. Oh, that's right. Lukako had called me. After that, Moika had come and so much had happened that I'd forgotten. Knowing Lukako, since I told him I'd call him back, he'd probably been waiting for me this whole time. Got it. I'll get in touch with him. Okay, thanks. Bye-bye. Mayuri put on her coat, waved, and went out the door. Alright, I should get in touch with Lukako. Lukako isn't picking up. Well, send him a Rhine. Type in my message. Sent it. Sorry, I forgot all about yesterday. Then I waited a while for a response to come back. No sign of him even reading the Rhine message. Was he busy with something? For a moment, I thought of going to the shrine to see, but if he was busy, I didn't want to bother him. Contact me when he had time. Just when I was thinking about that, I heard footsteps coming up the stairs outside the lab. It didn't sound like Daru. Daru's steps were a lot heavier. Come in. Hello? Lukako. Good. Okay, I'm glad you're here. It was Lukako, the boy I'd just been trying to get a hold of. Sorry, I totally forgot. So I just called you. Huh? Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. I didn't notice either. He looked guilty, as if he'd done something wrong. No, it's fine. Anyway, you've got to be cold. Come in. Oh, sure. But he hesitated, seemingly distracted by something behind him. So, Okabe, I was going to talk to you about something. But first, there's someone I'd like you to meet. Is that okay? Someone you'd like me to meet? Well... Lukako moved slightly to the side, and a grill appeared behind him. Hello? What? Impossible. The girl there was... Kurisu. Nice to meet you. Come in. Thank you. I offered her a cup of tea. I poured out of a plastic bottle, and she thanked me in a voice that was almost impossible to hear. For my part, it was all I could do to keep the hand holding the cup from trembling. I took another good look at the girl sitting across from me. She looks just like her. Not like Lukako. The girl in front of me looked just like Makase Kurisu. Her brown hair, her slightly slanted eyes, her unconcerned expression. Right now, there was no sign of her strong-willed nature, but other than that, they were identical. When I'd first seen her, my heart felt like it was gonna stop. But on closer inspection, some parts were different. Like the size of her breasts. Was she about our age? She looked older than Lukako. I knew Lukako had a sister. Could this be her? Had a quiet air about her that seemed similar to Lukako. I thought I remembered hearing that Lukako's sister was actually quite cheerful. Lukabe? Oh, nothing. So, Lukako. Lukako? Oh, excuse me, that's just what I call him. See, you know, he looks like a girl. I just realized that it was a pretty rude nickname. But it was a habit now, and there was no changing it. I see. Her expression softened, just a little. She really did look just like her. I took a shallow breath and forced myself to relax. So, Lukako, who is this? Well, remember how I told you my dad had a visitor staying? Yeah, you told me. Is this her? Yes. That was a surprise. Thought a friend of your father's would be older. Oh no, more precisely, someone my dad knows brought her. Oh. But this wasn't the person who was talking about Harumi? Made me feel a little better. Well, I wanted to talk to you about her. Before that, can you tell me your name? It's hard to just keep saying her. Her face clouded. Did I say something wrong? Actually, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. Well, how can we find out who this girl is? It took a moment before I understood what he said. Wait a second. Lukako, what do you mean? She's got amnesia, she says. Amnesia? That's right. She doesn't even remember her name? That's right. Or who she is? That's right. Why? I don't know. Of course not. If she knew, she wouldn't have amnesia. But why come to me? I thought you might know of a good way to bring back someone's memories. You talk about memories and the brain and all that complicated stuff all the time. Anything you can do to help me bring back my memories would be wonderful. Well, wait, sure, I talked about this stuff a lot, but I'm just an interested amateur. I don't know anything special. I knew how the brain worked and how it was laid out, and I knew what amnesia was, but bringing back someone's memories was a different matter. Even the latest medical technology would be useless. Unless, of course, you had your memories stored in a system like Amadeus. I see. The girl was visibly disappointed. And then there is someone you can find out who she is. Kana seems to be suffering so much. Kana? Luca's father gave me that name. He said I needed a name. He says that means temporary. It doesn't sound like a lot of thought went into that. Is that okay? He said since I wasn't going to be using it forever, it'd be better this way. I couldn't tell if that was deep or not. Okabe, is there anything we can do? If we could at least find out her name. I'd love to help. Wouldn't it be faster to go to a private investigator? Private investigator? Like a detective agency? Yeah, but even that's gonna be rough with nothing to go on at all. You didn't have a wallet or a bag or anything? No, nothing. Nothing. Not necessarily something big. I'd imagine there has to be at least one thing. There is one thing, but I don't know if it'll help. She slowly took out a handkerchief, as if it was something that was very important to her. Whatever was inside must have been the one thing she was carrying. May I see? Yes. Huh. Do we have visitors? Almost at the exact same time Kana opened the handkerchief, I heard Mayuri's soft voice from the front hall. Evidently, that's another drink, she was back from shopping. Suzuha was behind her too. It was a rare combination. Had they run into each other on the way? Oh, Mayuri. It's Luca. Brother Luca, who is this? She's a guest who's staying with my family. Kana bowed her head a little. Wow! For some reason, Mayuri gave a happy little sigh as she looked at the handkerchief in Kana's hands. That's an Upa, right? Inside of the white handkerchief was a faded Upa keychain. You like Upa? Mayushi loves him too. Is this your clue? It was an old Upa keychain. Is that really a clue? But how old is this? It looks pretty old. It really did, come to think of it. Upa was a character from the Rainet Kaguru anime. Upa products had only been around for a few years now. The one I was looking at was very old. This was probably green to start with. It's the Forest Fairy version. Forest Fairy? Yep, it was in the movie that just came out. Mayushi's got one too, see? But the design's a little different. I couldn't see any difference at all. This keychain's really hard to find, so I was looking everywhere for it, and then Luca found it and bought it from me a while ago. Remember? Yeah, I just happened to see it on sale. That's strange though. If it's from a new movie, it can't have been on sale that long, and yet it's so old. Huh? Only then did I realize how pale Kana's face was. Are you okay, Kana? Are you not feeling well? I'm fine. Kana tried to stand up and almost fell forward. Lukaku quickly grabbed her. I know, I'll get you something cold. I went to get a bottle of water out of the fridge when I noticed that Suzuha was staring at Kana in shock. Suzuha? This is impossible. Huh? Strangely, Kana wasn't the only one who was shaking a little. Suzuha was too. No, that Upa. What's wrong, Suzuha? I know that Upa. It's... Huh? Hey, Suzuha! Kana staggered a few steps towards Suzuha, and then a few steps more. Couldn't be. No. There was just no way. But... Are you... Takari? What? Are you Kagari? Are you Kagari Shina? Kana's eyes went wide. And she slowly collapsed to the floor. The orbital eclipse. Well, calm down a bit? Yes, thank you. Kana had passed out after hearing the name Kagari Shina from Suzuha, but with the help from Lukaku and the girls, she woke up 10 minutes later. She still didn't look very good. Lukaku and Mayuri, sorry, can you go go buy something cold to drink? Huh? And some of those cooling sheets that you put on your forehead would be nice too. I felt bad for Lukaku, but I probably didn't want either of them hearing what we were about to discuss. Yep, okay, let's go, Luka. Oh, yeah. Lukaku seemed interested in hearing about what was going on, but still, he went along with Mayuri. What happened next was the problem. Kana. Kagari, where have you been? What have you been doing? What? Suzuha opened her mouth the second Mayuri and Lukaku left. Her words were as sharp as a knife blade, and Kana looked terrified. What the hell were you thinking when you... Wait, Suzuha. She's lost her memories. What did you say? I explained what had brought Kana here. Amnesia, and she doesn't even know where she's been? Yeah, but there's something we need to talk about first. Whether or not she was really Kagari Shina. Kana. Oh, yes. You remember what we were just talking about? Yes. What do you want to do? Should we wait for you to recover a little more before we continue? No, I'm fine. She was clutching her upa so hard that the fingertips had gone white. There was a light in her eyes as she looked up at Suzuha. Okay, let's get back to it, Suzuha. What makes you say that this is Kagari? That upa. Kagari never let go of it. She said it was a present from her mom that would keep her safe. Kana slowly opened her hand. The tiny old upa was staring up at us with a silly look on its face. A present from her mom. A present from Mayuri. Kana said that upa was the one thing she had with her. That's right, I woke up without my memories, and the only thing I had was his keychain. Woke up? Yes. Woke up where? A mountain path in Chiba, near the prefecture's border. The priest of a nearby temple happened to be passing by, and he found me lying on the ground. I stayed there for a while. But they said the temple was a place of spiritual training, and they couldn't let a girl stay there for very long. So they sent you to Lukaku's place. Yes, the priest thought that Luka was a girl. So they thought it would be good to send me to a home with a girl my age. I never thought of that. If only I'd known you were so close. The guest that Lukaku had mentioned a few days ago was probably that priest. Which means that Kana, no, Kagari Shina had been there the whole time. We've been searching blindly for her without any idea. She'd been there the whole time. If only I'd taken Lukaku's call, we wouldn't have had to go through all this. So, Kana, did you remember anything when you heard the name Kagari? To be honest, I don't know, but it feels like I've heard it before. And Kana's words cut off as she looked at Suzuha. This girl from before. You mean Big Sis Mayu? Big Sis Mayu? That's Mayuri Shina. Yuri, somehow when I saw her, I felt very warm. Even if she was Kagari Shina, she would have only known Mayuri after she'd grown up. Her appearance can't have changed that much. Which meant that it would make sense that seeing her would stir some feelings with Kagari. Hey, can I see that again? Oh, sure. Kagari handed the old upa over to Kana. Yeah, this is definitely Kagari's. Then does that mean I'm this Kagari Shina girl? I think so. We can't be sure yet, but that would make sense. No, I'm sure of it. This is Kagari. The keychain is proof of it. Big Sis Maya gave this to Kagari. But how could you have amnesia of all things? Keychain probably did belong to Kagari. But she could have been gifted it by Kagari Shina, or she could have picked it up off the ground. Of course, Suzuha said that the keychain was very important to Kagari. It was unlikely that she'd drop it, or give it to someone. Which meant... The door opened, and Mayuri poked her head through to see what was going on. Doo-doo-doo! Is everything okay? Oh, sorry. Thanks for getting that. Not at all. The drinks and the cooling sheets were taken out of their plastic bags and put on the desk. So, Lukako waited a moment for her to take a sip of the drinks he'd brought, and then spoke with a quivering voice. So is Kana this Kagari girl that Amine was looking for? Yeah, that's probably the case. I'm so glad. Now you at least know your name. Luca. Kana, that is. Kagari smiled gently when she saw how relieved Lukako was. Oh, but then, do you know where her real family is? Huh? No, that... Suzuha was Kagari's neighbor when they were kids, but she moved 12 years ago and hasn't been able to find her since. Isn't that right? That's right. And all of a sudden, I really started missing her, so I came to Uncle Okurin for help. That's the situation, which means that Suzuha doesn't know anything about Kagari's family or where she lived. Let's see. It was the only answer I could come up with. If we told Kagari that she was a time traveler from the year 2036 who'd come here 12 years ago, it would only confuse her. Now, if only we could get her memories back, we could know exactly what happened. He learned her name and met both Suzuha and Mayuri. Mayuri's presence alone had to be a big deal. Kagari? Yes? What's your last name? I didn't hear it before, so I'd like to learn it. Well, they say that it's Shina. Wow! You've got the same last name as Mayushi. Mayushi's last name is Shina. Shina Mayuri. Yuri Shina. Yeah, that makes me happy. I've never met anybody with the same name as me. I see. Yep. So I'm really glad to meet you. Yes, nice to meet you too. Mayuri using her natural cheerfulness to try and open up to Kagari. If it worked, maybe she could bring back her memories. Luca told me you've got amnesia, is that true? Yes. That means you don't know who you are, doesn't it? Yes. I see. It has to be really tough, huh? Guess that means you forgot about the people you love, right? Maishi think that's really, really sad. So, I don't really know how to say this, but Mayushi will help too. So let's do our best, okay? Mayuri smiled. I could see Kagari's eyes well up with tears. What's wrong? Did Mayushi say something weird? No, that's not it. Just hearing you say that made me so happy for some reason. And it's not just Mayushi, Okurin, Suzu, and Luka all feel the same way. Yes, of course. I'll do anything I can. Thank you, Luka, Mayuri. We'll leave Kagari to Mayuri and Lukako, and she'll be just fine. The question was what to do now. Lukako, can you do me a favor? What is it? Can Kagari stay at your place a while longer? Huh? In the meantime, we'll try to figure out what she's been doing until now. Oh, of course, I don't mind. Is that okay with you too, Suzuha? That's fine. Suha probably wasn't completely happy with that, but she nodded anyway. Our first priority now was getting back Kaguri's memories. Then I can see if I go to Luca's place, right? Can Mayushi come over to play? Of course! Right, Kaguri? Right! Suzuha, you should try to drop by as often as possible too. It's probably the best way to get her memories back. Okie dokie. Oh, right, if we're not having a Christmas party, I'd like to have a New Year's party. Can you help too, Kaguri? It would really make me happy. Huh? Can I? Of course! Right, Luca? Yeah, let's all have a party together. Anytime you got 3 girls together, they'd start chattering like birds. The girls, although one of them was a guy, began to chatter away. I had my own work to do. First, I had to let Moika know we'd found her. Found Kaguri Shina. Knowing Moika, she'd respond almost immediately. No way! Where? A friend who works at a shrine was taking care of her. She was found on the mountain path near the Chiba border, but she's lost her memories from before. Before then, she was that close? Wow! We've been looking for whoever is after her. It'd be a big help if you could keep it up. Okay. Was all I needed to do for Moika. I was still interested in the group who's been looking for Kaguri. I also wanted to know what she was doing lying on a mountain path. What was she doing out there? With only an Upa. She had been running from someone? Lukako, can I have a second? Yes, what is it? I'd like you to try to keep Kaguri from leaving the shrine as much as possible. Huh? Why? Don't ask the reason, please. Yes, alright, if you say so, Okabe. Couldn't hurt to be careful. It was nothing, and that was fine. Once Kaguri got her memories back, I'd know for sure. Nobody knew then when that would be, though. Day after Lukako took Kaguri to the lab, I took Mayuri to Yanabayashi Shrine through an Akihabara that was filled with the Christmas spirit. Oh, Mayuri, and Okabe too. Lukako was smiling. He'd seen us before we could say anything. His smile was far too cute to belong to a man. Once again, I was forced to doubt his real gender. Luka, Kaguri, doo-doo-doo! Doo-doo-doo! Wow, Kaguri, you're amazing! Huh? Why? Because even when Mayushi says doo-doo-doo, no one ever says doo-doo-doo back at first. It's hard for someone who's only just met you to understand that it's a greeting. Yep, so everyone says, what's that? You just said doo-doo-doo right back, so I'm impressed. I didn't. I just kinda thought I should, maybe? Maybe Mayuri's strange greeting had embedded itself in some part of Kaguri's mind. Which meant that even 25 years from now, Mayuri was still saying Tutaru? Well, knowing Mayuri, wouldn't surprise me at all. Oh, Okabe, Tutaru to you too. Thanks. I still didn't know how to deal with her. She'd been 10 years old when she was separated from Suzuha. That was 12 years ago. She would be 22 now. That meant she was older than me, but she was also Mayuri's adopted daughter. Time travel. I would make her like Suzuha, who was Daru's daughter,